How you doing?
Yeah, great, Marc, and thanks for the invite here.
Wonderful, wonderful. How's everybody else doing? Yeah, there we go, there we go. I know you all have hopefully, some good Colombian coffee, in your veins now. It's an amazing time here. Very excited to be here. Thank you all for joining us. Juan, I am so excited to be here with you, to be talking about this. We have 19 minutes and 30 seconds now to talk about a very complex topic and a very crucial topic. But to kick us off, why don't you tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, and how you came to work at EcoRegistry.
So thank you, Marc, and thank you everybody for coming here. I'm Juan Duran. I'm the executive director of EcoRegistry, and EcoRegistry is basically a registry system for carbon offsets. We work with different standards. One of them is, let's say, an internal standard in Chile, and the other one is a standard that grew up here in Colombia. Now it's internationally, and it's called CER Carbono, and we have issued around the world around 40 million credits, and we have more than 100 projects and are in more than 10 countries at the moment.
That's unbelievable. And if I remember correctly, the EcoRegistry's claim to fame is that it is the oldest blockchain-based carbon credits platform, right? Going back to early 2017, is that right?
Yeah, so actually I don't like to talk about that a lot, because the first time I went to the COP25 in Madrid, I went and said out loud, we have a blockchain-based registry system for carbon offsets, and everybody wanted to hand me. It was a difficult moment. So, but yes, we have been in the market in 2017, and it's a blockchain-based system. We do it on a private blockchain, but we have connections to public blockchains, and we have a way of ensuring the data.
Sure, yeah, that's wonderful. And I mean, going back to the early days of EcoRegistry, what were some of the reasons why you guys decided to build a blockchain-based registry back then in the early days?
Yeah, the history is very interesting, and I used to be the innovation leader of a big company here in Colombia, and we were having lunch with some people that were developing a conservation project for the jaguar, and they wanted to build like a corridor of the jaguar, and they were very they were very scared about the quality of the registries that were at that time. The difficulty that they had to access information, the difficulty to explain everybody what the project was, and the information wasn't public even. And every documentation that they had to fill out, it was very difficult for them. And yeah, so there was a good friend of mine that he's right now at the DEF CON, and he looked at me and said, why don't we do a registry system based on blockchain? And then we started.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I love that some of the compelling arguments or some of the reasons why you guys looked at it is to alleviate those core aspects of these legacy registries and legacy systems, which is the opaqueness of data, the transparency and the verifiability of the actual information that is exchanged between the counterparts throughout the evolution or the life cycle of these projects. So that's all really amazing. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the topic at hand, which is interoperability and how we unlock that, I thought we would just level set with a quick chat about the environmental outlook. Right on the screen right now, we have this really compelling image that NASA released earlier in this year in the aftermath of the extreme heat waves that hit us this summer, and this picture really speaks to me quite strongly, and it really reminds me of a few of the most recent climate scientist reports that have been published. Right, the United Nations Environmental Program, they have a yearly report called the Emissions Gap Report. Right, and last year's report, which was aptly named "The Heat Is On," it definitively concluded that climate change is no longer a future problem; it is a now problem. Right, and the IPCC's sixth assessment report report, which has been released this year, also definitively concluded that a lot of the extreme weather events, such as this heat wave or such as the droughts and the floods that we've seen, can be directly attributed to the buildup of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. Now, we have a lot of tools at our disposal, but we have some very, very pressing issues at hand. And we need to do absolutely everything that we can to decarbonize the global society at a scale and speed never before achieved. So can you speak to us a little bit from your perspective about how carbon markets, carbon pricing initiatives, emissions trading systems can help in this regard to realign incentives, drive deep decarbonization around the world?
Yeah, it's actually that image says a lot, and climate change is happening right now. It's actually climate change is on the past. And I believe everybody here agrees with us or agrees with me when I tell what we are doing is not enough, and I believe that's why we're here. So I would say carbon markets are designed from the scratch, actually, to implement these climate impact costs on products and services, apparently.
Sure.
So normally you care development costs, production costs, transportation costs, and financial costs, and anything to have a product or a service. But actually, when you talk about, nobody talks about climate change or carbon markets as part of the cost that you are generating, and that's why there have been developments of emissions trading systems in some parts of the world, carbon taxes in some other parts of the world, and then comes the voluntary market as a carbon offsetting possibility so that people can compensate their impact. But actually, what I wanted to say is that we have to do something else because this is not actually working as it should work.
Sure, yeah, that's it seems pretty apparent, right? Carbon markets have been around for now 25 years, right? They were first kind of created with the Kyoto Protocol back in 1997, and obviously they have gained traction and they have seen success in certain areas. But if we want to decarbonize all forms of economic activity at the speed at which we must, then we drastically need to scale these carbon markets, need to make them more effective. So, what are your views on exactly how Web3 can play a role in this, in helping, make these carbon markets more effective and helping them scale?
That's actually very interesting because a lot of people want to help, but they don't know how. And Web3 has the possibility to empower individuals to give something for climate change and to give exactly what they are expecting. And the key to deliver something for the people that are expecting is to have all the information that requires so that you, me, anybody that is sitting here can understand what actually is happening on the projects and what they are offsetting. One of the main parts there, and I would say something like, for example, in the future, I believe in a system that you quantify not in tons, but in kilograms, for example. And the ton needs to cost more than $100, around that, more than 200, I believe, to be effective. And then when that happens, that will happen when the mass can have access to each one of the credits. And to be able to do that, you need an infrastructure that can exchange information. I love your slide, Alan, from bridge information, bridge, connect, and everybody needs to connect. And that's actually one of my main mottos, that everybody needs to connect and information must be there so that every individual can make a decision.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And a few points that you just raised really also resonated with me. I think on the next slide, if we can go somehow, somebody. There we go. I wanted to just give a picture, a visual element here again to the audience about the state of the carbon markets as they exist in the world. Right? There are more than 68. I believe this year there's 68 already launched and a few more in development or being implemented. Carbon trading schemes or emissions trading schemes and carbon pricing initiatives around the world. But to your point about and this is not to say anything about what's happening in the voluntary carbon market and obviously all the evolution that's taking place here in the Web3 space. But it's really fascinating to see how all of these, wonderful, thank you, how all of these initiatives, have sprung up over the past few years. But what strikes me as obvious is that while all of this is a good sign, there is a tremendous amount of fragmentation with regards to the data underlying these initiatives, with regards to the price points that all these environmental assets are trading at among these areas. So, I would love to get your thoughts on the current state of this, on what this can and should move towards in the future, maybe hoping to achieve that $100 or $200 carbon price point, and how, once again, technology can really play a vital role in this regards and moving it to the future.
Yes, of course, and I believe we are all here in Colombia, and Colombia is a great example how our carbon market can be developed. It developed because of the carbon tax. It gave the initiative to a lot of projects to see issuance. But when I talk with somebody that tells me I have, 20 hectares of land and I want to do a reforestation project or something, and the problem is that with the actual cost of monitoring, reporting, and verification, with the cost of issuance, with everything that you have to take into account, and that there is no knowledge on the normal people to develop these kind of projects because they are difficult. They are difficult to develop. So you have to say that person, the money that you are going to get for each ton of CO2 is not enough to develop the project itself. So you won't have any money for plants, for anything, to grow anything. So actually, what I believe is the key is that all these markets that you see there, they should share information, learn from what has been done, develop new methodologies that are based on technology, for example, like digitized MRB solutions or solutions that are simplified so that smaller projects can go to scale and can sell the credits, and the trust will be there when you have the information to show everybody that you are doing the right thing to do and that the projects are actually doing their impact. That's actually, the information needs to be exchanged under all these markets and the ones that are not painted there, because they need to be included as well. And that's actually how I believe the Web3 can help a lot, because that can empower individuals. And right now the market is based on, for example, a lot of people ask me, why do you think that the credits that are on eco-registry costs less than a Vera credit? And I have to answer, okay, we are not yet, for example, as the standards that we work with, they are not yet assessed by ICROA, they are not assessed by Corsia, for example. But what if we have some other solutions that could value also biodiversity impact, community impact, other kinds of impacts that are also taken there and that can be explained to a simple person with the information we have and the information we can exchange. And then you can do benchmark, for example, if a project in Colombia is being well handled, and you can do a benchmark with a project in Costa Rica, or you can do a benchmark with a project in Senegal, for example. There are countries that are a lot alike. So those kind of things can be done when you exchange information between all the different platforms. And we see a lot of people here from, you mentioned Toucan, Flow Carbon, they are all developing their own systems, but they will need to exchange information so that everybody can take an informed decision.
Yeah, that's really crucial. I mean, making sure that the information underlying all of these different initiatives can be used and transferred and talked to other initiatives, other markets, is absolutely crucial, I think, to unlocking more transparent, more verifiable, more scalable infrastructure for us to more accurately price all these negative externalities, right? And as you just referenced, there's a tremendous amount of evolution taking place in this space. But to the core of this conversation is the topic about interoperability, right? With all of these new projects being developed in the Web3 space, they are still, on their own chain or in their own ecosystem. There are obviously, as Alan highlighted, a tremendous amount of initiatives and a lot of work being done on bridging these things. But what can we do as a Web3 ecosystem to unlock even more interoperability within our own space and within the Web3, tokenized carbon credit space that is maturing and evolving incredibly quickly, but also to build those bridges back to the legacy industries to help them address some of the limitations that they currently have and help us all move forward in the right direction.
Yeah, so actually that you're describing my work in the last about 6 or 8 months, because one of my worries is how to connect legacy platforms to new platforms, or how to connect our platform to new platforms. I believe a very interesting solution is Filecoin, the one, because you will have the chance to have information spread, and you can have the read access of that information. That's very important. And above that, we are working very hard on, right now we have like an API services based on APIs, and everybody that wants to connect with us, I just send them the Swagger link, and yeah, here is the documentation. You just, and call me when you don't understand anything, and we can connect. That's how I'm working right now. But more than that, we need to have, or what I say, we need to have like a common information model for exchanging information that would facilitate a lot of things. Because once you have this common information or common language, it's like when we are speaking all the same language. Right now, everybody's understanding me because we are speaking all English. So once you have a common language, then you can exchange this information easily, and everybody can use it. I don't have to go, if I put that information on a network, then I don't have to actively go and connect to the token network so that they can have their pools. No, they just can grab the information from the system and do their own pools or any other system that is working. So that's actually how it should work in the future. And I imagine in the future I can take with my MetaMask and I take my credits and I put them off-chain and then I put them again on-chain on another, and it shouldn't matter.
Sure, yeah. And that would unlock a lot of these opportunities, to maybe generate a credit on your, chain, multi-chain using the colored coins. I love that point. And then able to, unlock the ability to seamlessly transfer that, say, to the Toucan infrastructure on Polygon, and then over to, say, the regen layer on Cosmos ecosystem, right? And transfer these around different ecosystems in a much more seamless and frictionless manner. I agree that data underlying this is absolutely crucial. In closing, if we can go back one slide, I still can't use this. And I just wanted to bring us back to this picture, right? It resonates so strongly with me. And I want to ask you to give us kind of a call to action in terms of how we can all work together to collaborate, to unlock this interoperability, to make sure that the data underlying all these projects and all these ecosystems is more or less standardized, is immutable, increases or enhances the transparency and the verifiability of all this amazing work taking place in the space. So I would say the first thing is information exchange, transparency, traceability. That's very important. And the other thing that I feel is we are failing also is new methodologies and new methods of quantification, the carbon reductions or avoidances, and also to have a good way of reaching out to the individuals, to the people, so that, because right now the big buyers, I don't know, Delta Airlines, for example, or Volkswagen, I don't know, so those big ones. But what if we could get to every single person? That could have more impact. Sure, yeah, that's wonderful. And you know what, we'll leave it there because there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for us. I think we have the tools at hand here in the house and ideas in our mind of how we can unlock these opportunities, scale these carbon markets in a much more effective, in a much more transparent fashion. And thank you so much for your time and for all the great work you've been doing in the space.